Test 1, 2, 3. Alright, so let's see, this works, sound is good, fantastic. Hey everyone, make some light here, it's very dark today. I think the webcam is a bit big. Sorry, I had to set up some stuff, we had some issues here, because my technique is getting broken slowly. Alright, so here we are, ready for some work on our website. Hey Stefan, hey Minu, hey Robin, nice to see you all. Almost no sound, alright, good to know, good to know. Thank you. One, two, three. So why is it so slow? Interesting. Okay, so we have some problems today. Try to change that a little bit. I don't know how yet. Oh, what a day. Import this guy. Oh, now I'm very loud. Sorry. So, still, I think this is better now. Or, so 1, 2, 3. Perfect. This is what I want to hear. Here, so fantastic. Now I just need some voice noise problems, noise suppression. Fantastic. What a day. As I said, it started very rough, so let's see how we can proceed today. But we have some good news. We got from Nickel, I think he sent us a message that there is something missing on our website. And I would like to work on our website today again, if this is okay for you all. Yep, that is the wrong path, bring it up. Hey Abby. So, and the thing is, he created an issue that the responsive footer is currently, or the footer is not visible on mobile screens at the moment. And I really think we should fix that. So what I would recommend is that we go to our channel master. If you don't know what I'm doing all the time down here, this is the Git integration of Visual Studio Code for Android Studio or IntelliJ. So you find all the branches that you have. Remote branches are the ones that are on the server or on GitHub, and the local branches are the ones that I have on my computer at the moment. So I will check out the master channel. And if I'm pressing now Command T, I'm updating all the files and I will find the newest commits. So if I'm checking out the Git command, which you find up down here, you have the possibility to see the logs here. And here you see all the branches that are currently running. So like UI improvements are not merged yet on master and so on and so forth. And we update that with Command T. Good. Then I would say, do we have really changes on the UI update? I think we merged that the last time, right? So if we check in the pull request real quickly, footer for the Flutter website, and I think that came from the UI improvements. So we can actually delete this branch here. Fantastic. And there is also no remote branch. We can do that, absolutely. You say you would do that on the web browser because we are working usually with macOS desktop at the moment because the performance is a little bit better. I think we can do the same here also, right? To just narrow the screen to see how it behaves. And I think in the mobile home, we just currently don't have the footer at all. This was the main problem for that. So I just clean up a little bit my branches that I have on local machine. So get rid of the improved Lottie animation, get rid of Lottie image optimization and create a new branch that I call MD Weber, and we want to work today on mobile footer. Oh, you think so? All right. We will check that right now, but on our mobile screen is just an understanding of the width of the screen, right? So it should work. Ooh, what happens here? Error, okay. Looks odd. So something is broken, totally and utterly broken. What is that? In this case, what I would like to do is call Flutter Clean, just to make sure that FVM, what master? I'm a completely wrong path. Okay, that makes sense. So we open up a new terminal and close that one. Flutter Clean. If you don't know this FVM, don't worry too much about it. It's just a wrapper around of Flutter itself and works exactly the same way. And with Clean, we clean all these different workspaces. As you can see, all the build files, Dart tools, and everything gets cleaned or deleted. And usually with that, we have the possibility to see more details. So if I'm executing once more Flutter Doctor, just to see on which branch we are, that should at least delete all the problems that comes from the master channel or so on. So you can see at the moment we are on the newest version, 1.22 something. And now let's try to start up the application once more, because after the clean, it will install all the stuff once more completely fresh. So hopefully we will get ready to see install. And I think I can put the microphone again a bit away. Cool. So yeah, there's a lot of going on in the channel at the moment. We are currently working on memberships. I helped yesterday Mario, I think. It was fantastic. He asked me some problems around his code base and I helped him to understand the problem with futures and so on. It was really cool to solve these problems and help him there. It was amazing. And at the moment around the channel, a lot have been done, and also with the community. It's so great. I don't know where this comes from. That looks too weird. Hey Ayush, nice to see you. What is this problem? Error initializer not allowed. Tags high bits shader compilation error. It seems that something is broken inside of the Flutter repository at the moment with that stuff. Can't imagine that we destroyed that so fast. Initializer not allowed. Use of the undeclared identifier. Okay, that's new to me, so let's check that out. Flutter repository and give that shader compilation error. Ah, look at that. But this is a very old error. Okay, this is Windows. How can we do that now? I think we can switch to the dev channel maybe and try it there, because the dev channel should be a bit before. So let's check once more the channels. Flutter Upgrade. You're right. I didn't upgrade the Flutter version yet. So that is true. Flutter Upgrade. Flutter Clean we already did, so you can see that up here. But I forgot the upgrade. Yeah, so there is a new version of Flutter Master currently, and I forgot to upgrade that. Music is getting very loud. So yeah, as I said, my technique here, or my technical stuff, my adapters are getting broken more and more from MacBook. So I had some problems with the monitor in the beginning, but we are coming to that. How's it going, Ayush? On what projects are you working currently on the Flutter stuff, on the Flutter side? 183 open PRs. Wow, that's quite a lot. And I hoped really that when I'm installing FVM we can work a little bit faster, but I forgot that master channel always needs a little bit of upgrade time. Volume up the song, okay, with pleasure. Made it just a bit silenter for myself because it was very loud. Ooh. Hey Dummy Dummy! What a fantastic name for a YouTube name. So you see us right at the moment to download all the dependencies of Flutter and upgrading our engine, which can take a while, unfortunately. So it was a bit bad start today. But it shouldn't take too long anymore. Maybe a minute or something. What we are all doing, we are working with Flutter and working on a Flutter website at the moment. Or at least I do that at the moment. Can we not take a screenshot of the website? We can. What was the name? flutterexplained.codemagic.app, right? So if we join here, we should see still our newest version. Switch here. So this is how it currently looks like, right? And we created this footer down here. I don't know why the website is not big enough, so let's make it this way. So, and we have some issues. For me, for example, it has too less space to the bottom. That would be something that I would like to improve. And the other thing is, if we make the screen size a little bit smaller, which we can't see here in that kind, because what I can do is I can use the inspector with the device toggle. And if we are in the mobile screen, so now it is very narrow, right? And now you can see that the footer is just disappearing, so it's not there anymore. You found something, fantastic. But in general, I was pretty happy with the footer so far. It looks quite useful. But for mobile screens, I think we have to think a little bit how we can show this part here, because I think if we make this mobile and we would just reuse the footer here, then we would get an error with the overflow on the left and the right, right? It's too big. That would be perfect, Minu. Thank you. And in that, or for that reason, we have to change there a lot. 2 breaking changes, wow. What is a federate plugin? A Flutter geolocation plugin which provides easy access to platform-specific location services. Okay, so it will get you the information where you are with the desired accuracy and so on. Ah, yeah, okay. Cool. Wow, but 2 breaking changes sounds very intimidating. I think you have a lot of paperwork. So you mean this part here cannot take a screenshot from? Really? Ah, in mobile. All right. Pretty good. Okay. So now let's see. Now as we have run Flutter Upgrade, we will run once more Flutter Clean just in case. Good. And now let's select the device and hope that we this time don't get the same problem. Very good, Xaxa. How are you doing? Nice to see you. Downloads. I'm searching for something real quick. Sorry. No. Okay. Anyhow. Alright, so it's in Flutter samples. So you mean when I'm searching for that Federate plugin and search for Flutter, we will find that somewhere. Ah, by the way, we have now our desktop app, finally. That's good. So it's a Flutter plugin, right? And if we go to GitHub, we will most likely find that inside of Flutter itself. Wait, Flutter samples, so that means here, and then we have the samples right up here. And here is a Federate plugin, so this guy. Ah, it's experimental at the moment. And I'm pretty sure this is your PR, right? Not too bad. All right, but back to our problem. We have our Flutter website here. So as you can see, as soon as we move to tablet mode or anything, so in that size, the part down here is still there. But as soon as we're getting into our mobile device screen, so this would start here more or less, then we get the problem with the footer. It's not there anymore. So how can we fix that? Should be pretty easy actually. It should be straightforward because our UI is currently created in this way that we have in our responsive widget 3 different widgets: mobile, desktop, and desktop, which is actually our tablet mode and desktop mode. So this mobile home needs to have a footer, and currently we don't have any of it. So if we check once more the desktop home, how we created this, we created a container with a list view, and the list view contained a lot of children, and the last children was actually our footer. Now we will get a problem most likely. If we jump into the mobile home and just use that the same way and would say, okay, we have our footer here, we can import that one. So would look nearly the same. And if we jump into our application, we see now, hey, we have our footer. And now it's still okay. Hey Mohammed, nice to see you around. So now it would still look okay. So it's like nearish tablet, but as you see, if we get narrower and narrower, the text looks very odd and you have that overflow part here. So it would be better if we stack now these parts as a column instead of a row here in that case. So all of these parts could be part of a column. And additionally, we would start maybe here in the center so that we have only 2 columns per row, more or less. I think that would be more than enough. So in order to do so, we have multiple opportunities. The first one would be that we say, okay, we create a whole new footer which is only applied for mobile screens. That would be all possible. Another way would be that we give maybe a part inside that says, is that mobile footer? Something like a flag is mobile. And say that this is true, for example, in that case. So and then we would have here a final is mobile. This is now just an idea. I don't know if this is the best way, so don't worry at the moment too much. And we can remove that key here and remove that super. I think it's not necessary at the moment. And now you can see this getting green, yellow. Hey Ankit, nice to see you. Okay, one thing that I would like to do is make this in general false. So it has the default value false, and only if we override it with a true, then it's getting true. So with that we make sure that the application here does not start to behave weirdly. The good thing is that we already managed that the logo here is flexible, so it's automatically scaling. As you can see, it's getting automatically smaller. And what I want to do is moving that a little bit, so then we have that easier. And now instead of a row, we would have a column. If I'm doing that all in one part, what do we have all to change? I think this row needs to be a column then, and this column needs to be a row. So it would actually change quite a lot. But the benefit is we have access to the footer text widget and the social media row. So what we could do, if we take this row here, which contains all the different columns inside, so these size boxes, which they're expanded. Social media row is on top. I think that one can stay at the moment. Do we have to have a MacBook to make an ISO app? What is an ISO app? I think, Stefan, you're right. That sounds like a good option for making iOS. Yes, I think you need an app, an Mac OS to even start developing in iOS. Okay, so yeah, I think to take some stuff out makes a lot of sense. I think, especially because all of these parts are just another column. So let's think about that problem. I think this one would be a nightmare because we have to control so many different positions at the moment. So I will take that out and do it in a more better way, I think. So let's go and search the home screen here, go to the mobile home, remove that for now. Oops. So, and for the mobile, we would really create a mobile footer, I think. That would make more sense. And then we can just rip the parts out that we really want to share between the mobile footer and the real footer. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Okay, so we have our widgets here. So what I will do is, because we have now multiple footers, I will create a folder called footer and move the footer.dart inside. And I will add a new file called mobile footer.dart, which is a stateless widget for now. And we import material. And what I also will do is now I will extract these widgets that we had created the last time, like the footer text widget. And I will create own files for that. So we have the footer text widget, because most likely we want to reuse that now across both footers, right? Footer text widget.dart. And no, from the footer, I cut that out, bring it over here. Will it have two states? I hope not. On the other hand, I think it is anyway stateless, right? So it shouldn't be in that case. I hope at least. So I think the footer itself doesn't have any state, or as far as I know, there is no provider or anything like that. We just have to import them. It will be more like the visualization is, right? So the responsive part will be handled in an own widget. So we could have always 3 widgets for that, like mobile footer, tablet footer, and desktop footer. Yes, exactly. The good thing is we can share across these 3 states, more or less. We could share across these 3 states of the UI. We could share the same widgets. So that is the idea behind. And the same thing for the social media row. Row, bar, row. I think bar sounds better. It's not the best option, but I think it makes sense, because with that, if we are searching for a problem, like for example, we know that it has a problem inside of the mobile screen, we can just open up the corresponding file and find the problem there. And because we locate all the stuff together in one feature, like in that case the footer, we will find it also very easily. At least this is my hope. Let's see. And the worst case, the future Max and the future community with the super chat has to solve this problem then. Okay, and did you find a better way? So launch that, that's good. And here we would have a different way. So this row here contains at the moment all the different columns that we want to display, right, with the different naming. And what I could imagine is that we just have these parts always like side by side, that we have still a row with 2 columns, and then put the stuff inside. Let's start by mocking the stuff up. We have for that the how do you call it? Let's stick with the container first. Any suggestion to start with responsiveness? I would highly recommend you from Flutter Stack. I think he created, not Flutter Stack, Fieldstack and some videos. He created some fantastic parts of there with responsive design. And I think Rody Davis also had one with, it was not responsive design, he called it differently. Reactive UI or something, I'm not sure anymore, but he made a fantastic video about the same topic, so that you can really take a watch. I think responsiveness in Flutter is still a bit underrated, so it really needs more time, because the web and desktop is currently still in beta. Thank you, Minnow. We will take a look later as soon as we have time. So I think responsiveness is still a non-important topic, because most of the apps are currently still in mobile anyway. And of course they are different devices, but it is not the main issue at the moment. So the mobile footer, we have a container. I think we can change that to column. No, in a row. In a row, because we have the row then down here. And I think, oh no, let's start with a column, because the part are in a column. Column, so this has children. The first one is the social media row. And after that we have this part, which is a row. So let's see if this makes sense. And inside of this row we have again children. And here we will have now these parts inside, the text widgets and the logo. So instead of a row with 4 columns, I would like to have one with 2 columns. So we would have an expanded and another expanded. So, and inside of them we would have at the moment just placeholders to have a look how it looks like. I think placeholders can be constants, so that's why it complains. No? What's the problem? Prefer const with, okay, so it's something with const, but most likely around the, it's around the whole row at the moment. Yeah, so that makes sense. And I think we can remove that comma, looks a little bit nicer at the moment. So let's see how it looks like. So if we switch now to our home or mobile home, this guy, we have currently the footer, but we will use the mobile footer. So, oops, I pressed the button. So fantastic. But as you can see, we have already our footer, and currently the placeholder here is quite large. This is one thing, but we have already just 2 columns, so that works fine. Now we would just condense that a little bit, that we have space on the left and the right. For that, I think we can just use a little bit of padding. So we'll wrap that with not all, but symmetric vertical. Sorry, horizontal, of course. Now we push the stuff a little bit inside, and I think a 16 would be beneficial, just to have a bit more breathing air. Yeah. The only thing is, in between these two, we need also some space, right? So for that, we would add here a size box and call that with a width, maybe of 8. So, and this size box takes the space in between. Okay, the only issue that we have at the moment is that we actually have 4 different elements, if you remember. So if we take that to a larger screen size again, we have, I don't know why my bar is in the way, but we can see that we have here the logo 1, then we have this 2, 3, and 4 different parts. Another solution would be that we have the logo on top, and then the 3 parts underneath it would be also possible. Can make that a little bit, so this looks better. So what do you guys think? Should we put the logo on top and then the 3 columns, or should we put all 4, that we have first the logo, then one of these columns, then all the both other columns? Any suggestions? Logo is already on top. Oh yeah, you're right. So we don't necessarily need that in the footer for the logo, for this normal device. I think for desktop it is good, but for the smaller parts, you're absolutely right. The logo is already there. Huh. That's absolutely true. So even better that we don't have it. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Let's do that. But then we still have 3 parts. Do we think a third one would be possible? So if I would add this and move that down, like so, it's still too narrow, or for the text widgets that we have. We can try that. So I will take this size box here and would add that to the footer. A grid view. Oh, a grid view is a very good idea. To be honest, I have not often used that, but the idea is great. Let's check that out. So grid view, how is that used? Grid view, Flutter, of course. So a scrollable 2D array of a widget. The main axis direction of a grid is, I don't know if we need a unscrollable widget in that case. But I mean, in that part it would fit very well. I always think I can execute that stuff, but it's only a screenshot. So they just say the cross-axis count, primary false, okay. So this is with the count widget. This would be with children, with a list view children, okay. And then with the grid view, I think we can just quickly change that, right? So when we have multiple text containers there inside, then we can change this part and we automatically re-render it in a way that we can check it. And we have the spacing in between, that's also good. So the parts are getting separated automatically. Yeah, I think let's try that one. So instead of a row here, we would have a grid view. .count in our case. So what do we have? Cross-axis count. So how much parts we want to have side by side. I think at the moment let's start with 2 and we can increase that later to 3 or more. So now we have these expanded and sized box. I think we don't even need the sized boxes anymore. And I think expanded is also not necessary anymore because the grid view will handle that for us. So we will add the 3 placeholders at the moment. Let's check how it looks like. The problem here is that we have currently an infinity height, right? Because of column and grid view. So what I will do is I wrap that in an expanded. Let's see if this works. No, sorry, the opposite. Do we need that actually? Shrink wrap, true. Fantastic. So with shrink wrap true, I just made it as small as possible. And now you can see we have currently no gaps at all, but our placeholders look pretty neat actually. So what we need is some space here and some space here. What shortcut do I use? To show hints inside of a constructor, like we have here with that count, I press Control and space on a Mac, and I think on Windows it is Control and space. And if I want to see what happens after a dot, it will be automatically visible. If you work on Visual Studio Code, you will use Command dot or Control dot, I think. It's always good to know the key map. I think you can also find the reference here. So if you use a JetBrains product, I always encourage take a look here. I think there is also one for Visual Studio Code. Can maybe take a look together. VS Code shortcut key map. Don't know. For Windows, okay. Oh yeah, fantastic. So something like that. And probably we'll find the same thing for macOS, I think. Cool. Hope that helps. Good. So now we have the grid view, and thanks to the cross-axis, we have these 2 parts side by side. And what I'm thinking at the moment, if we knew that, we could use that maybe also for this part here, but let's stick for now with that. So we have these 2, and now we would like to have some spacing in between. For that we have the padding, cross-axis spacing. And I assume that cross-axis spacing is the parts between the 2 parts. So if I'm adding here an 8, for example. Yeah, an 8. So you can see it is the space between these things in the middle. But you see up and down, there is no space at all at the moment. So for that we need the main axis spacing, which we give also 8. Fantastic. And with that we have this part in place. And the good thing is, if I'm just changing that to a 3 at the moment, it will automatically enhance that. Good. So next step would be making that color the same like in the real footer, right? I think we have a constant for that, the K footer background color. But currently this lives inside of our footer dart. So we have to take that out, and where I want to have that actually is inside of our constant file that we share across globally. And at the moment we don't really have one, so I have to create that. Constant.dart. Hey Lian, nice to see you. Guten Morgen. Is that the easiest? Wait, rendering, painting. I think rendering is fine so far because it is the the smallest dependency across. If we would use material, for example, it would be much bigger. So I just want to give as less possible features as possible to that file. And here inside, we have to import now this constant file. And thanks to that, we can now reuse that also in the mobile footer. So here inside, we have our padding, and now we wrap that with a container, which gets a color, this guy. And now, as you can see, we have a container surrounding that to make that dark, which didn't work actually. Now it worked. So now it's looking dark. But one disadvantage we have still, we have this padding that is surrounding our content. But actually we don't need this padding widget because this is part of the container here. So we can just add that here. Hey Ahmed, nice to see you. Welcome to the Flutter Explained community. Good. And as you see, nothing changed, right? Everything works still the same, but it has the dark color and the padding is there too. Great. So next step of order, we have these placeholders. What can we do with them? We have a max width container that we don't need because mobile is never 1200 pixels far. And here this works quite well. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with our responsiveness so far. The only disadvantage, or what we have to do now, is getting here the texts inside. So if we look in our footer, currently our text comes from this column here, where we have a size box surrounding it, that it's not getting too high, and it expanded. And I think we don't need the expanded, but we need this size box inside. And now comes the same thing, right? If I'm copying that over, we have to rewrite all these footer text widgets and so on all the time. So I would maybe create, should we create widgets for that? The problem is if we create widgets for that, we have always 3 times these things. So the problem is that we have to pass down later also a URL and everything. So that's getting really messy. On the other hand, if we have to change that 3 times, it is a little bit crazy. Convert it into cards. What do you think for cards? This size box here? How does cards look like? I think cards has an elevation orb. Run it. And the cards into grid. Okay. So let me test that. I will bring that over for now. What is here the problem? Const from constructor. Okay, cool. So this can't be a const anymore. And we have to import these guys. And they have to be const. All right, so let's have a look. So we can see now down here, we have the texts here. They are currently not clickable. Why are they not clickable? No worries, that's all good. That's what we are working here. Interesting enough, our whole click events don't work anymore. How did we implement them with the on tap? But somehow I cannot tap them. But on larger screen sizes, we couldn't tap them either. Let's make quickly a hard restart just in case that there is a problem. The problem with the cards is that I see is that it has a specific view to it. So it has rounded borders. It looks a little bit pulled off from the screen, you know. And what we actually want with the, whoops. So I can maybe show you what idea we had the last time. So if we go to, for example, the IntelliJ page and take a look into their footer, so it looks very flat, everything, you know, so it's directly on the ground. Yeah, I'm also sure that the links work already. Ah, now they work again. Fantastic. So you just click them. Huh. Okay, so now let's see if it works also on mobile. Yeah, so also on mobile they work. Fantastic. And them too. Great. Oh, that's no worries. I just wanted to make sure that everyone is on the same page. My problem now is just that if we copy and paste them all and we have to change them later, it's getting a real mess. We have to do everything all the time. So that means if we copy over all that stuff and now, for example, the text of platform changes, we have to search every footer here in the game and switch the name. And also because later we have here different URLs behind, right? So I don't know, we navigate from platform to HTTPS youtube.com/c Flutter Explained, just as an example. Then our platform click here will now navigate instead of buy me a coffee to our Flutter channel. And if we now have to change the URL of one, we have to change it for all the parts, and I think that could take a while. So currently I'm still thinking if we should create a widget for that whole part here, so that we have for the size box and column just a widget called footer row 1 or something like that. I don't have a good name yet. So something like that, we would put that here inside. And instead of this, we would have here the footer row 1. Yeah. The only problem that I could see is that we maybe have later a lot of small widgets here lying around, but this is currently the only downside that I see. Okay, so if you find that all a good idea, then I would maybe say that we create a file for each of them. So footer row 1.dart. And if you have a better name for that, please let me know. And row is maybe also not the best naming because it is actually a column. Or better, instead of 1 or 2 or 3, which is not saying anything, we call that 1 to the left. Then everyone knows that is on the left side. The question is now more, what happens if we have right to left reading people like Arabic or something like that? Would we like to turn that around so that the platform and so on is on that side? Or is it either way? I think I'm thinking too far. So what I would do is I would just keep it with then you can combine all the widgets to one script if you find there. That is a fantastic idea. Yeah, that's true. So we can call that footer columns. And then we can just call the name of them like footer. Like this one would then go to that columns part. To mirror everything. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so we have solutions. That's fine. Then we are good to go. So we call that footer column 1. 1 or left? I keep it now with left. I think that makes more sense to read it. And then we can get that from footer row 1. Import footer columns.dart. It's not row anymore, it's column left. Good. Now we create the other two parts. So we search for footer.dart, and here we have also not this part, we have footer column left, create. And we would take the same thing for here. Column right, no, center. Nope. Stateless widget, footer, column, center. And last but not least, stateless footer, column, right. Okay. I think with that we have removed a lot of the hassle to use them actually. And the good part is if we are going now back to our mobile footer, we can now replace them too. No, I don't think so. It is just how you maintain it. It will be more expensive or less expensive because it's anyway declarative. So I think you will not lose anything there, at least from my gut feeling. It is just the calculation and everything is the same, so it shouldn't lose anything. No worries. I like the grid view on one point, but I don't like it on another. On one point I like that it is now very nice and easily to change, so we can change that to 2 here very easily. So if we have a more mobile view, we can have something like that. But what I don't like at the moment is that if we make it a bit bigger, that it's automatically rescaling all the time. I actually don't even know where it comes from. Can we set something at repaint boundaries, cache extend, child aspect ratio? What do we have else? Primary, reverse, scroll direction, semantic, child count. So, So this is now very picky, of course, so that I see that problem, but I think we can get rid of that. And additionally, it's interesting because now we have 2 scrollable views, you know? We have the main scrollable part, which scrolls the whole view. And then we have down here another scrollable part, which not necessarily have to scroll. So I would maybe recommend that we put that scrollable part down here away. I think a grid view is not perfectly for our case, unfortunate. I thought so, but unfortunately it is not, at least not what I could see so far. So there is a clip behavior, a controller. I don't know what this one does. It's a scroll controller. Let's Google that. Maybe there is a quick and easy solution. So grid view, prevent scrolling. Try here if you want to avoid what is here. Wrong programming language. Ignore pointer widget. Here, that's fantastic. Okay, so we need a physics, never scrollable scroll physics. Thank you, Xaxa. We found it directly at the same point. So this one is const. Okay. So this part is not scrollable anymore, and now the whole screen is scrollable. Fantastic. So how can we stop these gaps of getting created? That this is a little bit more fixed height. I thought actually that this one would solve already the problem. but I assume that is not the case. Most likely it will get a different height in general, right? So let me check. I need for that the Flutter tools quickly, or dev tools, better said, because with them we can actually take a look how they are created and why they are moving around. ATP. So let's see, select a part. So this guy, for example. So we have that column with space around. How can I do that better? I think I can put that on the left side and add that on the right side. Make that a little bit smaller. Hey, Revikant. So. What's the idea behind the website? To have a website, of course. Okay, so we have these widgets here, and because that column has space around at the moment, so if we check the layout explorer, it has currently space around, right? So what we can do is space between, it's getting too large. Space evenly would be maybe the best option, at least from the looks. So and now if we scroll, it still moves around. I really don't like that. I don't know why it does that. Is that the sized box is 100, or will it be always 100? No, it's moving actually. So it ignores the height here in that case. So this height is not 100. I don't know, to be honest. The problem is to have my official website is currently Flutter XP, blah, blah, blah. And my main problem with that website, and I can maybe share it here on Chrome. The main problem with this website is at the moment that it's, well, it was our first intention to create a website in general with WordPress, which was pretty nice, but it has one huge disadvantage, and this is called page speed. If we take a look into page speed itself, it is super slow, and with that it's getting very large down rated in general. And the idea was to create, also because we are Flutter enthusiasts, to create a website with Flutter for Flutter people, right? Would be best. Now the problem is that web is currently still in beta, and we don't have any CEO, we don't have any all of these benefits, so you see it's quite bad. And so we don't have any CEO in Flutter Web yet, and there is still a lot of stuff missing, so which will make it a little bit difficult to use that at the moment. So the idea is to have it like kind of a side official website. So if you join the, for example, I thought that our main page will then link to that page and show the blog, for example, and so on and so forth. So there are some downsides that I know about. And on the other hand, it is just a nice project to show off some stuff, right? If we are working on responsive design and so on, it is just a very good idea to show it here. And I think I broke my dev tool somehow. It automatically selects stuff for me. That is unlucky. Can I? Okay. Let's close that off quickly. Oops. Stop all. Good. Yeah, so this is the idea or the intention behind that I had. Also, the idea to see how it works on web in general is also pretty cool, so that everyone can see, okay, we can really create a website on web and have something like that running is pretty cool, to be honest. Doesn't have too much, how do you call it? Some passion stuff, doesn't have to have a reason to create. Okay, so the question is still, why does it just take its own size or height of the whole stuff? So we have the column, navigator, expanded, needs to be some here. Jumbotron, mobile footer, so this guy. And then we have the column, social media row. This is the grid view that we created, and the sized box inside. And this sized box has actually a height of 100, but gets completely ignored. At least this is my feeling. So this sized box should be this. And it looks a little bit larger than 100 pixels, right? So, What language? Whatever you can do best. If you want to have just a website to show something, then I'm pretty sure that you are happy with WordPress and it works very well. So I would recommend stick with the things that are working. If you want to do something more advanced, or you want to have a real application that does something, calculations or anything like that, I would go for one of the main frameworks that currently exists for the web, which would be React.js, AngularJS, Vue.js. Is there anything else? Ember.js maybe? Svelte is very happy at the moment. So if you want to have an application that does stuff and calculates stuff for any reason, then a real framework would be good. And if you have a website, I would recommend you mostly one of the CMS tools like WordPress. What is the other thing? Drupal, for example. Or what you also could do is a headless CMS with Gatsby. It's also pretty cool. I think a lot of JavaScript developers use Gatsby at the moment, which is pretty cool. But Gatsby only creates you static content, which is not necessarily a bit bad. Wix, I don't like creation platforms for someone. So if you like point and click and moving stuff around, it's like, I don't know. Not a good feeling about that stuff. And you have to pay for it, I think. Okay, so we have that size problem and it will automatically take its size here. So what I can do is I wrap that with a container. You want to code. Yeah, so Gatsby is a good choice. Gatsby is working with React, I think. So you can try that with Gatsby. I know, but it's different. Hard to explain. And I don't have to pay for it. Constraints, box constraints. And what I want to do is giving it a max height of 100. So now let's check if something has changed. This is a const. That's also pretty good. That is a real interesting issue, and I don't know actually where it comes from. So it seems that the grid view is overriding our child with the height somewhere. Dirty text base, vertical direction, we have a height of 100. I have 3 words in one grid. Maybe. Whoops. Okay, so broken. Fantastic. Oof, PHP? I don't know. Wouldn't recommend that. How did I manage now to have these outlines and can't deactivate them anymore? That's unlucky, so get rid of that. Fantastic. Can I give a... Wait, I have the grid, right? And if we have this grid view count, yeah, I think that could be the problem. So what I would like to do is, instead of having this here inside with that container, I don't know if I destroy now the other part, but what I want to do is wrap these guys here. What could we use? I want to wrap this grid view here in a height somewhere. How can we do that? Size box, I think this would be the easiest. Height of 100. So, oh no. Well, the height is now 100, that's true. So it understood that it should do that, but it cuts off now everything that is inside. So that's not the solution here. Controller padding key, automatic child aspect ratio. Grid view, child, height, Flutter. The key is the child aspect ratio. This value is used to determine the layout in grid view. In order to get the desired aspect, you have to set it to the item width divided by item height. The solution would be this. Item width divided item height. Oh, that's no worries. I think we want to learn something, right? So that's perfect. So we have the child aspect ratio. The item height is something and the item width is something. So this one will get, like, for example, we have 500, 250, and here we would have 500 minus some stuff divided to 2. So that would be around about 1. Or somewhere between 0 point something and 1 point something. So if we use this, how do you call that? Child aspect ratio, and I just mentioned 1 for now, which is the default, I think. Yeah. So if we get 0.75, it's now a bit weird, but just try it. No, it automatically recalculates all this stuff. So I think the grid view will not do what we want actually, because we get always different heights, right? So this child ratio will not help us in any means in that case. Or did that help? That helped. At least to make it a little bit smaller. So if it is large, it is still small. This makes sense. So what happens if I say 2? Make that a little bit smaller that we can see it better. But now it looks like that in smaller devices, and in larger devices it doesn't get completely off. And as soon as we have the general one, it works again correctly. Yeah, so it is more dynamic in smaller screens, which is fair, I would say. So what I want to do is bringing back my sized box around this here, sized box with the height of 100, just for the desktop version. So now if we are getting bigger than this, here, then we have in the desktop version now that these are aligned correctly again. All right. Next step of order, I would like to have a padding on the bottom here of the footer a little bit more. That's just a minor issue, but I would like to change that because it doesn't look beautiful. So getting here some rid of. Expanded sized box. Here's logo, which is fair, I think. On the other hand, yeah, we have to think about it. And this row in the main has here symmetric vertical, so we would have also. Is that part of the footer? So we have some space up here and a little bit on the bottom, so maybe we just have to increase that to 16. $32. That's on top a little bit too much, but on the bottom it's okay. So I say only top, that is bottom, and top we want to have the half of it. So I think that makes more sense. My typing speed. I saw last time a live stream of Design Coder, is his name, I think, a YouTube streamer. He really did that. And I really tried to challenge myself, and it's not that fast. I think there is a type speed checker or something. Type speed test. Let's see if we find something. Should we do that once? Then you will see how fast I can type. Maybe we can make a series out of it. How fast can we write every day? You know what? This is a perfect timing for a poll, I think. Then everyone can tell their opinion about it. 30 to 40 words per minute. I don't know. Is that high? Is that high? Oh, wow. I have no idea. The problem is with English, I think in German I would be a bit faster, but in English it's always a hassle. I don't know. Let's try that, I think, or can sing a few would behind go less. Okay, so this. Sorry, I got into the zone. Is that fast? Is that good? So write me yours. You said what? 30 till 40. Okay, so I doubled that. That's all right. I can live with that. That's cool. Here's also how much it's beat. All right, so challenge me. Write me in the chat what you have. Yeah. I think I knew a friend of mine who's writing with 2 fingers, and she was faster than me. I don't know how she did it, but it was incredible. Okay, so we have that in place. This works. Was that cheating? Yeah, maybe. I think it highly depends who you ask. For mobile screen, I don't like that they are aligned on the left, because now we have so much space that we waste here. A pro typer? All right. Oh, I think then I have to train a little bit more. So what I will try is I will bring them to the center for mobile screens and hope that this looks a little bit better. But for that, how can we decide that? I think the easiest way is, because thanks to Minu, we have the screen size, we have that. Do we have that here actually? Yeah, the size config. Or better, I think we have in our responsive widget. Keybill, okay. Oh, pretty cool. Yep, sounds like a plan. Stefan, let's try that. So you can move it to the middle and maybe lettering space. That's a very good idea. So we have our footer text widget, which, no, not the footer text widget, I hope. We have currently this sized box here in the footer column. And here we have the cross-axis alignment and the main axis alignment. And if we center this here, you see already that this stuff is getting moved to the center for the different parts. But one problem that I see here, oops, we have to first identify if this is mobile screen. So we have our responsive widget where we have, I hope, get rid, where is our responsive widget? I think here inside. And here we have the different parts or not. Do we have access if something is mobile? No. So what we need is we have to actually make the calculation here. So we get the media query off, context, ask for the size, width, and now we have to ask if it is smaller than responsive widget dot we don't have access to it. No matter what I'm doing, or do we have access? No. But these are, no, we can import these consts, of course. So this one. Then we will show this part, and else we show the center part. And what I will do is this k tablet breakpoint, which is a constant, right? I would like to have them in our constant. No, I think it's good and to have that in the responsive widget. It makes more sense to keep that together. Okay, so we have now start and center, and how does it look like here? So I did it exactly the wrong way. So in desktop mode, it's now centered, and in mobile mode, it is now left side. So what we have to do is changing this. Well done. So as you see, it's only working for the first column at the moment. The problem here is because we created for each of these columns an own widget. So actually that what I wanted to avoid happened. Of course, we have to write everything for each widget, but it's still a possible way. So I would like to have that rather than changing later the URLs and texts everywhere, because I think this is a one-time thing, while the other thing is, oh hey Marta, thank you. A good old coffee. So, sorry for the interruption. Very happy with that. So we managed now to have these mobile stuff down here. If we're getting too small, some stuff happened here on the left side, but let's be honest, if you have a small device that is that small, I think then we have to anyway fix it by having other solutions, right? Actually, what I want to try now is I want to start up our iOS simulator. In Grid have 3 columns. I think at the moment we have 3 columns. Let me check. Ah, no, we have 2. Yeah, we can try it with 3. 3 columns would be 1, right? Yeah, just check out on a mobile phone quickly. I want to see how it looks there. And then we can talk about it. Yeah, that's true. So the watch wouldn't do. Haven't you used size config for resizing? I did. I did it mostly wrong, but I did it. Or most likely wrong. I think for the text we did that, but I think because if the screen is getting too small, so at some point it's just starting to snap. And there was also another thing that I would like to do, but this has nothing to do with the footer, so we will do that later. So did that start? No. And go. I'm really curious how it looks on the phone actually, because I've never started that so far. So, because what we have is a PWA at the end, so that means if you go to the website that I always post, the Flutter Explained CodeMagic.app, then you can download, like in your browser, an application for that. So the next time when you start the app, you will find the newest version. Nah, doesn't work, not of course now, but let me quickly do that. So I'm switching to Flutter Explained .codemagic.app. Ooh, that looks pretty neat. I'm pretty happy with that. And I think 1 is even better, or? I think that looks pretty clean, to be honest. For mobile, it would be great to have some dividers here, but it looks pretty clean. Maybe give here some breathing space, because that it looks like it is very attached to whatever there is. So one or two things. So in between of these mobile views, so we have this mobile router, I want to have a divider. And also here a divider. They are const, of course. And with, okay, not this kind of divider. I thought this is just a line, or not? Do I have to pass some infos down? So height is just 1. Color would be colors.gray, for example. Gray, yep. So how would that look? Why does it have so much space? Where does this come from? Ah, because of the child aspect ratio, most likely, right? So, no, it's even worse. Okay, the problem is now that this divider is sad. Yeah, it's coming from the grid. It creates its own grid inside. We can take it out of it. Anyhow, then we don't have a divider. Not too bad. Oh, but what we can do is inside of the... no, but then we have it all again for both. We could do something like this in the end and could say if we want to have that, then we want to show a divider, else we have just a container. No. Grid has borders. That's a good idea. Yeah, I think the borders make more sense. Fantastic idea, thank you. So let's check if this guy has borders. Controller, padding key, auto cache, clip behavior, primary. So, yep. Too much this. So, grid view borders. Flutter, of course. Okay, so they just added that as a child inside of it. But if we know, we have the different children with the column, right? Just a sized box. I don't know if this is working, but what we could do is having here a column with a divider down. Something like that, maybe? Okay, look different than I expected, to be honest. And it didn't... did it work? I don't know. Height 1. And the color would be colors.gray. Huh. Now the only question is, why is there so much space to the bottom? Most likely because this column needs to be main axis alignment centered. Main axis alignment dot center. The question is, look it now better or worse? Instead of center, we could also make a space evenly or something. Worse, yeah, I think so too. On the other hand, if I'm adding that to... Let me just quickly check that, just in case that I don't... Because I think if we are doing this, and we would add this divider here, below, to all the three parts, then it maybe looks again clean, hopefully. Also, no. We could delete the last divider, but it would still look a bit weird. Nah, come. On the other hand, why is it anyway look that way? So why is there so much space up here? Is it part of the inside? This is a height of 100. space around. Hey Robert, nice to see you. Let's try with space evenly, but I think that it makes not so much difference, right? No, 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 no. So where did I add that now? The mobile footer here. So that was not a good idea. I'll get rid of the divider here, get rid of the column. Great. You like it green. I like it clean too, so nice and tidy. So at the moment it looks like this. And maybe if we add some text style, give you an idea of diving. So you would like to have these text form fields, which we can give a text style, right? And here you would have a letter spacing on 2.5. What is a letter spacing? It is a double. A double with a question mark. The amount of space is logical pixels to add between each letter. A negative value can be used, bring the letter closer. Good question, can take a look into a second. Text style, what do I wrong? Style. How did I? It has a default styling, right? That I removed now. So what is that? Just the color of footer text color. Instead of a wrap, you would like this. Then it would look like this. Sorry if I didn't understand it well, Robert. Instead of a column, we just want to have it now one by one underneath each other. Letter spacing and underline. Yeah, sounds good. So let me check. And underline is a decoration, or I think. Oof. Which one is it? I have no idea, and my CSS background is not good enough. So let's find that. Flutter text style underline. Text decoration underline. Okay, fantastic. Decoration, text decoration, underline. And I think the letter spacing should be bigger than one, right? So something like that. So like this. And what I will do is I will take this text style and remove that here and bring it into this text style that we anyway generated here, this guy. I'm sorry, Stefan. I will take more time now. I will ask you before I start something to search. So this is text decoration dot underline. And the last part is letter spacing that we would. What is a good letter spacing? Do you have a good number into your mind? Something that would look amazing in our parts. No idea. Fantastic. 1.25. Okay, let's start with this and have a look. All right. So it looks quite promising as a footer. Maybe give it some space up here still, just to make it a little bit more. But on the other side, the footer will not always be directly a part of it. So, but still, I would like to give it a little bit of margin on top, just to make sure that it never is on completely on the bottom. So this is in the mobile footer. This container gets a margin. And edge insets dot symmetric. I always do that wrong. Horizontal, vertical, right? So let's make it vertical and 16. And this is a const. Yeah. So now we have a little bit more space to breathe, I think, here. The problem is on the bottom, so this is only top. Much better. Yeah, I think in mobile view I also don't like the underline, because on the other hand I don't know how it looks usually. So let us check a good example of a website, or any example of a website. So I go back to IntelliJ because it has that dark header that I like. So let's bring that over to a smaller screen. Yeah. Oops. Check out, give it mobile. Meh. Sorry, I don't have enough space to work. What is going on? So this is not an iPad, this should be an iPhone. Okay, no, it doesn't really have underlines for mobile screens. Yeah, so I would maybe skip the underline if this is okay for you, Stefan. Maybe in the, also in the normal browser, I think. No, usually underline, it's usually if you hover it, you will get these underlines. So it like you have the blue text and then you get the underlines. I think that we can do. If you hover it, then you will get the underline. I think that would look amazing. I think if you hover it, not on a phone of course, so here we wouldn't see it in general, but I would say on a desktop application it would be nice to have that with hover. So if you agree with that, then I would maybe change that. There's no hovering of phone, that's true, but on a desktop application, right? So, too much stuff. Okay, footer text style. So here we have currently the underline. We would remove that. I think if you hover it, the color should change to the logo color. Which color? The more dark blue or the more light blue? I think the light blue or would give that bit more color. Or more white, yeah. Okay. Let's try that. So first of all, I would kill the iPhone. It was nice to see that it anyway works in general. That is fantastic already. But now let's see how it looks. So, and what I will do is now, because this can stay, because this is the footer styling, but what I want to have is now general hover color. So we would have a K hover text style, and this would be the light color of the logo on web. The problem is that the hot reload in web is not very fast. I would like to avoid that as long as I can. Okay, so we can see here it is looking fantastic. Actually, I'm pretty happy with the font and the sizing and everything. And on mobile screens, wow. Okay. After a certain mobile screen, it looks okay. I think for the bigger mobile screens, we need a new breakpoint that we create. So I think a real mobile device should start here, like minimum devices, like 320 of width, and everything in between is a tablet, in my opinion. But please let me know. if you have a better idea. But in the meantime, we can have this hover text. So the color should be a little bit more like this blue, right? You told me. So let's check out how we can do that. I think the easiest way is going to my website that we have currently. And I have this nice Colorzilla tool. With that we can just grab the color of the logo that I don't have anywhere. Is that now the truth? Jeez. Okay, then let's go to flutterexplained.codemagic.app, where we have deployed our stuff. And then we also have to change this here sooner or later, right? That looks weird that there is the text of the stuff. I would avoid that. And the reason for that is we anyway recalculate everything already. So I think for the smallest device here, if we just take it, I think we anyway recalculate it. The only thing is we need a breakpoint from which point on it will break. And I don't understand why sometimes here's this overflow. I thought this stuff is also dynamically resized. Have to take a look, not sure. So first things first, hover effect. So we would have this color here. So this is a color 0xFF with that one. So this would be our hover color, and now we have the decoration. Decoration, that was text decoration dot underline. So, and this hover is now a replace. Yeah, and I think the breakpoints are anyway there already, right? So in our responsive widget, we have these breakpoints already, and there would be just another. Yeah, I know, our tests are horrible, but at the moment we don't have so much logic, so most of the stuff is just visualization. So yeah, it's tough to just make tests for visualization all the time. Breakpoint or mobile breakpoint would be 320 or something. So of course I could test everything, right? So with that underline and everything. It's always, I think with that oh, 20% test coverage. Yeah, I know. The problem is at work and so on, I always advocate to have like at least 80% or 60%. And then it's difficult to see that I, in my own projects, don't even have like 20 or 30%. All right, so our food text widget will now have to understand that we underline is not needed. Okay, we can check that, and if it doesn't look nice, then we can remove it again. But for now, I just want to start with something. So how do we do that now? The inkwell itself got an hover, I hope, or on hover, exactly. And what do we do with this hover? Now we need a state, or? Yeah, true. Maybe a pure Flutter testing live stream. So we get a boolean, and this boolean understands now if we are hovered or not, I assume. So just bool is hovered. So if we print that, we will get on is hovered, most likely a true or false if it is hovered or not. So if I just hover a little bit, then we get all the time this information, true, false, true, false. Cool. But now, what do we do here? I have the bad feeling that this footer text widget gets now a state, or am I wrong? Because I think we have to update here if we hover or not. So we don't have decided yet for a state management solution in general, I think. So we don't use provider or anything. So in my opinion, oh, thank you, Stefan. we can use now a stateful widget as easy as is. What is that? Ah, wrong. This is of course not a stateful. This is not how it works. So I select this and I convert that to a stateful widget yet. We can decide later if we want to change that in the upcoming videos or something. So value notifier, yeah. I can use value notifier. Is that not also a kind of state management? Let me check. That holds a single value. When value is replaced with something that is not equal to the old value as evaluated, this class notifies its listeners. All right. So it is just a widget class, or it's in the foundation, okay. Okay, so let's see if this works, or I understand how it works. So how do I choose a state management system? Well, to be honest, at the moment it's like a coin flip. I just choose whatever floats my boat. So I want to really learn Redux at one point more, because I like that single source of truth with one store option. I'm always afraid of streams. That is the reason why I never worked with block patterns so far, because streams are... It's hard to do mistakes with them. So you get very easily some problems there, and I don't know, and everything else. So yeah. Okay, but can I add that to a stateless widget? Most likely not, or? Because if it is stateless, then... So you wouldn't do it here, like value notifier. I can? Okay, let's try that. I've never used it, to be honest. Okay, so we have a value notifier that I can call, I don't know, is Hubbard notifier. And then we initialize the value notifier, I don't know, with false, because it's not Hubbard in the beginning. Avoid field initializers in const classes. Okay, so this class can't be const anymore. That's fine. State management. An application has, or you mostly likely has heard already from Flutter, is declarative, I think is the name. So that means that the UI is always the function of the state. So it represents always the state. And that means if you want to change something on one screen and you have an effect that happens there, you want to display a change maybe in another screen, for example. Then state management comes into place, because maybe a variable on that side has changed and you want to see the effect on another place. And with that you can control your application easier. So, and now you say a value, so that means we would here change the is Hubbard notifier. Okay, first let's start with the builder. So here inside we would have the value notifier builder. What is the name? Value listenable builder. Okay, let's see. And inside here we would have most likely a builder, correct? Which gets the context and I hope the value, and returns our text widget down here. Build context dynamic can't be assigned. Okay, so I have to say that this one is from type Boolean. Build context cannot be, there is a child. All data is unkit. So yes, Stefan, you're right. Anyway, it's always data. So state is nothing else than running data. And all of them. So users, informations about how the front end changed something, form data, all of it. So missing required param is missing. Value listenable. Ah, and now this guy is hover notifier. Fantastic. Okay, so is there something that we don't have to re-render? No, I think the whole thing. So that's why we have that. And inside of here, we now have to change that is hovering, hovered. Why can't I see that? Can I update the whole thing somehow? Add listener, notify listener. Okay, I can say value with the is hovered and then notify the listener? No. Ah, no need to notify. Okay, fantastic. We don't need a stateful widget in that case because we use this value notifier, which is more or less like provider. Yeah, okay, so John. Okay, so provider, for example, uses also these change notifiers, and with them you notify your listeners. And now at the moment we change that value, and what happens is we change the value here inside of this value notifier, and he will understand, okay, there has something changed. So my state is from false now true. What happens, it will update or re-render that part that is connected thanks to the value listenable in that case. So it will rerun this build function here inside, so that part, and will rerun that always whenever this value here inside has changed. I hope that was correct. If not, please let me know, Robert. Okay, so style. We have currently a custom style that we can pass into it, else we pass the k-footer text style. And now there's also another part, because we would send this, but if the value here is true, correct, yeah, forgot about that one. Yeah, so the stateful widget would recreate the whole widget here. It is still state, because that's very important. It's still state that exists here, but it is just for that specific part. Hey Ajay Luis, welcome to our channel. So if I make a blog website, where can I, where other can comment and like the post that. So the question is, where do you have your comments from? So your comments, every comment would be some kind of state, right? Because you have different comments, and all of them would be managed in a state full widget most likely, or in some kind of state management. Should be in state or e-comment mainly all the elements. No, not necessarily. So you, how do you explain that now? You have widgets that have absolutely no state. They are interested if they are visible or not, or they have no state at all. They don't care. So like, for example, our navigation bar on the top here. It doesn't care if it has information or not. So this will be always stateless, right? It doesn't has any concerns if the state is changing. On the other hand, we have currently down here our navigation stuff. And here we have now the state if you are hovering or not. So this is a state, and this needs to be handled somewhere. And we use now the value notifier, and this, so it highly depends on what the widget does. Is it dependent on state or not? So the question is now why we have here 6 of them. It's quite weird. So I hope I didn't duplicate them somehow. This is changing, that's fine. And now we recreate the whole text every time. So what we can do is say value question mark. So if this is true or false, and I get here a bool just to make sure. And question mark. And else we get also a text with the text. But this time with a different style. So which is, and I think I need here a hover style or k hover text style. And this one can be up here. Final text style, hover style, and this hover style. So I still have every widget twice in the widget tree, whysoever. They are broken now? They cannot live in a const constructor. Okay. Same for that, that's fine, because they have now values that are changing inside. And still it is a little bit broken. Ah, better. So now the only thing that we see is it's not updating the state, or at least we don't see it. So the value, so what I will do is I will make that and block body, because what I want to see is if we print the value here. True, true, false, true. Looks good. Or do I have a different print? Style and hover style. And I get this K hover style, which is that color. Yeah, it's very difficult to explain state management without a proper complete understanding. I think I have a video in my channel that explains state management a little bit more in general. So what state is, where it comes from, and why it is important for us. But yeah, I think it's nothing that we can do in like 5 minutes. It's like everywhere. Okay, so unfortunately, Robert, maybe you have some idea. This value doesn't work. Even though that the value is changing, we get always the same style back. So the hover style is null, so I thought... maybe I cannot do that final? No, it has to be final. Value notifier start with false. We update the value to is hovered. Is there anything else that I can do? No, it's just value and then the new value, so it is hovered. Yeah, it's getting called with the right value. So this value is true or false? Immutability? Cannot imagine, because we just recreate the widgets here, right? So what I want to do is print style. I would like to, so style and style, hover style, just to see if they are null. Because that is what I expect, but who knows. I think you have to use the child property of the builder. The child property, as far as I know, is not getting rebuilt. This is the part that is not getting rebuilt if the whole thing is running again. So let's go a little bit around that stuff. So true, false, true, false. Huh? That looks odd. Okay, I close it completely. Maybe the app is just broken. But thank you for your help, Aikut and Mirko. Maybe we will find that, I'm pretty sure. Maybe I just override somewhere the style and the hover style and then it's just taking this place, but I cannot imagine. Yeah, reboot is good. Oops. Okay, fantastic. It is exactly the opposite and it worked. So that means this guy has to be unequal, or better, instead of calling it value anyway, it would be is hovered. And I think it's not hovered is a bad practice. So what I will do is I will, it's not possible here. Can I, yeah, I just switch it like that. Bit of more work, but it's okay. It's okay, it will be fine. The power of restart. Yeah, fantastic. Looks much cleaner. Amazing. I don't know if underline is really necessary. If we make it just blue, it would be good enough. We can test that right now. Go away, and it's now this way. So, and because I cannot decide that, I will make a poll for that. So let's go here. Then I can go to the bathroom quickly. Cloudbot getting some poll with underline or without. Option 1 is with. So where is my, here we go. Cool. Yeah, I didn't know about these value lists, or better, I knew about them, but I usually ignored them so far. I always took some packages that then used them, I think. Who is it? Thomas Burkhardt has an idea how he creates a lot of stuff with the value notifiers at the moment. So he leveraged these parts here a lot in his state management solutions. Then we can remove this too. And this is working. Fantastic. Okay, so please feel free to vote for with underline or without. So let's check it once more. So this is now without underline. It's just getting bright blue. And the alternative is with underline. And let me check where I can add them once more. Here somewhere. And this guy. Decoration, text decoration, underline. Would be this guy. That's exactly the opposite again. So let's do it here. Here we go. Fantastic. I quickly go to the bathroom and we'll be back in a second. All right, so here we are. Some questions. Fantastic, fantastic. Well done. So let's see how the voting is gone. Got to learn more. We all do. Store polls. So let's see how it turned out. We have 2 votes for without border. All right. So I would say we keep it without. Well done. Everyone decided. Yeah, I think I have to remember that one. That is very good. If you have some data that will change in the lifetime of the app, you have to call it state. So, do we have any issues with the mobile here, or do we like it is at the moment? I think it's useful. It looks nice and clean and tidy. And I think that should be it. One thing that I don't like. Now that we have changed how it is here, and we said without underline, I think. Hey Hasnantai, how are you? Nice to see you again. So, fantastic. So we decided for without underlines, so I add that directly. And now the last part is, as you can see, these parts here has also an hover effect. And this is currently a circle, which is somehow dark and black. And can we do this in social media? The problem is with the color in social media, it's getting very colorful. Like, oh, this is red, this is blue, this is black, and so on. So I don't know if this is necessarily a good idea. We can try, of course, but yeah, have to check. But what's more important is if the hover effect here, as you can see, it's going over the white on top, so it looks a bit weird. And I would also do that in the color. Or what we can do is we can, on hover, it gets the color of the social media. So that means if we hover, then it's getting red in that case. So that would be maybe a good solution. But what I will do is I will first commit a little bit of the stuff, because as you can see, we have nearly everything here. And this is quite a lot. Sure, before same one. So like here and here, yep, good point, we can do that. That's true. I think that's in the mobile footer at the moment, so I think you would have these 23, and they have to be... They are as margin, and this is horizontal, so we would most likely have here also a vertical of 32. Like that. Ooh. Hey Kaival, nice to see you here in the Flutter Explained community. Show you the Lottie file parent. I think you find that in the README. I added that to the README file who created the Lottie file down here. So if you join there and then go to page number 2, because I search that now quite often. So quack quack quack. Page number 2. You find it exactly here. Maybe I can share it with you, then you have it easier to find it. So, and here we go. The parent widget of Lottie file. I think that should be easy to find, right? If you just search for it. What is it? Dot asset. Lottie builder asset. This will be this one. So hero image it is. Okay. Mobile screen. We have now the spacing correct. So I think this is exactly the same like here. Now we don't see the hover anymore, but still I like the idea to have this hover effect. And in the meantime, I will commit that stuff. So we managed to create a mobile footer. Review. So next step would be the social media bar contains these icon buttons at the moment, and they don't have a hover effect at all. So do we have here an on hover even? No, they don't. So I think we have to change that from an icon button to something else. What do they have actually? Focus color, autofocus, disabled, highlight color, hover color. We can just change the hover color. All right. Dot red. The color of the button's icon when a pointer is hovering over it. I don't know. Minu, no idea. So the hover is not working as we think. At least not here. Do we have anything else? So we have focus node, mouse cursor, splash color, splash radius. We could just make that to 0, that we don't have a splash. Constraint, alignment, focus. Visual density. That's interesting. So the hover color seems not to be used somewhere. So why not? Oh, the splash radius is not allowed to be 0. Okay. Icon button, hover, color. Of course, Flutter. Okay, that seems not to work like I expected it. So this is our YouTube. So what we could do instead is we could write our own, right? So we would have, for example, an inkwell here again. And inside of that inkwell we have a child, which would be our icon. So for example, like that. And this inkwell wants to have a const. Okay, we can have that at the moment. We'll change in a second. So we have here an on tap, which do something, I think this here. So where's the problem? On tap. Yeah, it's not a constant anymore. Fantastic. And the icon is here. We have a hover color, this color, and the on press, so the icon button can be gone. Okay, and here we have now unhover. And here we would have now like 4 of this value notifiers in that case. Restart. Maybe restart could help. I forgot about this guy. So let's try quickly to revert everything. Make a hot restart the whole app. No, it doesn't work, unfortunately. So the press is working, but unfortunately hover is not. So let's stick with the inkwell now. Have an on tap where I take this on press method. So get rid of that. And we have the icon, which is the child here in that case. Tick. Sort last. Okay, so this needs to be last. That's okay. And the hover color and the color we will set in a second. So does it still there? Yeah, fantastic. The only problem is that the child with the icon has now a color. Start, and this will be the K footer text color. K footer text color. Here we go. Okay, so that worked already. Interesting enough, they are not aligned anymore correctly. So the icon button seems to be bigger than the others. Okay. So now we would have to rebuild this icon whenever the column or the value notifier is changing. Yes, but at the moment we are on a desktop application which just looks like a mobile. So you can see if I'm hovering here, the other parts are working too. So it just don't work for the icon buttons. So it is a weird issue actually. It should work. It doesn't work for you either? As I said, it could be also a bug in Flutter that currently the hover button does not work. Does it work on web? Okay, you know what? Let's try it again. So revert all these changes. Or no, don't revert, keep them. Because I'm lazy, I do it differently. I will just add here in hover color, colors.red. And what I will do is I cancel that one and open it up in Chrome. And let's go. On mobile, it's for sure not. In mobile, it can't work because mobile has only a long press, I think, and the long press can lead to a hover, which is a bit weird, but this is the best thing that mobile has, actually. But it's interesting, it seems that this is an issue with Flutter, actually, because it should take the color into account in hover state. At least I would expect that. So, yeah, so I'm in web now, as you can see. And unfortunately, it's also don't take the hover effect into account. The gesture thingy. Gesture detector. I'm very happy with these parts. Now we just have to make sounds whenever we hover about something. So if we hover to that, it needs to make these whoosh sounds or something. But it doesn't work for the icon buttons. Interesting. The inkwell. The inkwell has nothing to do with it, right, at the moment. So it's just the icon button. But I never heard that we have to wrap that in a material because it is living inside of a scaffold, so it should be part of a material widget. You can try that. Ooh. Okay. It worked. It does the different of that thing that I expected. Go with that. Set a type of material type. To be honest, here is another problem. The problem is that not the icon is changing by hover, what I would expect, because as we see here in the, if I'm searching for hover color of an icon button, Flutter of course, we find this hover color property which lives on icon button. And if I read that, the color for the button's icon, when a pointer is hovering over it, then in my opinion, it would change the color of the icon and not the color of the background. So material type transparency. Why do I set something like that? Do I set that on the icon button? Color of material. This guy. Okay, so color. So and then you say material type transparency type. Okay. This could now be a problem with the web. Let's check if I have to how to reload. Well, No. I think it solves the problem, but in a very weird manner. So because we don't want to change the color of the icon button itself, so the surrounding of the icon button should have the same color. It should change the icon that is inside here. So I would expect that this color here inside, which is currently, I hope, K text color. But you have to admit that the API documentation promised me that. Yeah, but I think the same. So I think this will not be a valid solution for us. Don't think it's possible when I think. Those liars. Screw them. Yeah, exactly. I think I will use the inkwell or the gesture detector. Both will work fine, I think. Okay, fantastic. So we have the launch, we have the icon, we have that stuff, and now we have to use... Do we create now our own icon button? So that we can reuse multiple times with different parts there. But for that, we just start with one, I think. So we have here in that stateless widget again, a final value notifier from type boolean, which we call is YouTube hovered, which is a value notifier with false at the moment. Yep, I think the swapping is working. User hand cursor, maybe it's work. I think the hand cursor is already there. If you see that, the hand cursor is already immediately there. So that should work already. Was it value notifier? I think so. Try changing existing class or creating a class value notifier. Was it here? Footer column, footer text. So this guy, value notifier. Yeah, you should write it correctly. Thank you. So, and I have to copy this now 4 times because we have this for Twitter. Yeah, or let's start with the YouTube one and maybe we extract the widget out of it. I think it could make sense here. Okay, so what we want to use is inside of this icon here, we want to have this value builder, this guy, and instead of a child we have a builder. And here we have context, value, and child. And this creates the icon for us. And this guy is a boolean. Bool. And we have to pass down the value listenable, which is YouTube hovered. So, and now we have that part. And what I can do now is just saying value equals this guy or colors.red. Of course I didn't update it. So on hover we have is hovered and we do the is YouTube hovered equals to is hovered. Do I? Can't be used as a dot value. So. Okay. So now it's exactly the opposite, which is fair enough. So let's change that name to is hovered. And this here is the hovered color, which comes... Wait. If it is hovered, then we want to show is if it's not hovered. So it's the opposite, right? So if it is not hovered, then we show this, else we show this. So is that correct? Yeah. So in order to do that, if it is hovered, make it positive, right? Stay positive as always. So we first make the hover, and after that we make our footer color. Because positive is always the better way. Okay, so now if we hover, we get the red color. Beautiful. Thanks to the value notifier. I really like that approach, to be honest. Never used it before, like it a lot. It's still better than to always have the set state, and also we just rebuild this small part of the application, which is fantastic. I like that. Thank you, Robert. So now we have to write that 100 billion times, so I think it would make sense to create here an own one. So what I will do is I will pick that out and create a stateless widget down here. Call that own icon button. Sounds weird. Social media button. So social media button is also not a good name, but we will check that in the future. And I will bring the value notifier with inside because it should control here. And now we have the point that we can reuse that all the time. Which information does it get? It needs prefer hooks. Yeah, I think what I want to use for this application is actually I want to use Riverpod with Flutter hooks. I think that is the next way that I want to start. So maybe the next session or so we will start with a real state management solution there. Hooks, if I understood that right, you can find here. It's a package. I've never used them so far, so good question. Okay, it seems to be a bit more complicated, so I cannot easily explain it. So I would recommend the video of Resocoder. I think he explains it very well. I will watch that later. Then we can talk a little bit, or I can talk about it a bit easier. Or maybe Robert, you can explain it in 1 or 2 sentences. Yeah, I think I like the idea, Ankit. Then we can make a whole public viewing somewhere in a big central city, and we all watch my stream. The next big thing. I really should think about that. Launch URL, and the icon will be replacing this guy here. And last but not least, we need a hover color. So this is a color, hover color. So if we want to have a custom hover color, we can add that here. So currently we make that red, but actually it will be the hover color. Okay, so we can reuse that guy, I hope. Just adding that here. and pass. I think all of them are required. Wait a second, have to check. The URL where we navigate to is required. The icon that we use is required. And I think icon, yeah, it's cool. Stateless widget with hook widget, then in the build method. Ah, that's where this hook widgets and consumer widgets coming from the Riverpod video. That makes sense. All right, that's amazing. Thank you, Robert. And I think the hover color could be a default one. And what I want to use here is the hover. I think we created a text, not style. We just created a text style yet. So this color here needs to be an own constant. Okay, hover color, which is this guy. Okay, hover color. So, fantastic. Bring it over here. So this guy is already set. We have this default one, fantastic. And now up here we have our URL, which could be, for YouTube it is https://c Flutter explained. And the next part would be the icon, which is icons, or better feather icons, feather.youtube, I think. Hover color, what is hover color? Yeah, red. Colors.red in that case, right? Because YouTube has a red color. All right, so with that we can reuse this guy. The icon should be the same, right? So we don't, this is not an icon. This will get its value here. The color is set inside, so we don't need that. And on press is also not necessary. And I see right now that this URL is of course already a constant. So YouTube URL. That would mean that if we have here an URL, we have also the Twitter URL. And the hover color would be colors blue. I think this light blue accent maybe. Voila. Yeah, that looks amazing. That's what I want. This is what I want. Cool. Then let's check the other. Postgre. Postgre is a database, so you need a little bit more than just Flutter and connect it directly to Postgre, I think. If you want to use Postgre, you will have to have a full-fledged backend somewhere. So, okay, this is GitHub, right? So, okay, GitHub URL. And this color would be black. This guy, so black is maybe make the opposite and we make it white. And then we can remove this guy. So I see right now one downside that we use here always this part, and I think if we are using it like so, this icon is part of that icon. But we need that for the, yeah, okay, so that's fine. We need to have that this way. Okay, remove that. It's code. This is color can be gone. URL is the def or block URL. Yeah. And hover color is orange. I don't know the color of DevTO, so let's see what happens. Tap, tap, tap. So we have them now in all the different colors. And what I want to do is giving these social media buttons always a little bit of padding, right? So that 16. So what do you think about our social media icons now, finally? Git can be green. Why green? Is green a good color? Is there any way to remove the padding and margin from the last child? Good question. We can try that. So if we remove this, we could check if the parent, which is currently using it, that was a mistake. So the parent is currently a row, right? So what we could try is, instead of centering that stuff, we could say something like space between. Let's have a look if this is working. We could do it like that, so that the row takes care of the spacing. But the problem with that is, as you can see, it gets like infinity sizing. So in order to solve this problem, we would have to wrap this row somehow in a column, container, or maybe in a sized box, and allow it a specific width. So like a width of 320, for example. Then it would look always the same. Like that. Make sense? Or space around. We can try also this. A max width. I think size box cannot have a max width, right? So for that, if we want to have a max width, we would have to wrap the row with a constraint box. And this gets a constraints, which has box constraints. And here we can have a max width of 320, for example. So that is nearly the same, but on a different way. So that means if we are getting very small, it will get narrower, you know, so it's getting, it shrinks. And I don't know why I cannot do it at the moment, but I think it has something to do with web. So let's choose a phone. And if we are getting very small, like for example, I don't know, 250, then it's getting smaller in any case. So, but here you can see the hover is not working because we are on the phone. And what I would also like to add is underneath the social media icons, also some space, because it looks weird. And giving here const. I'm an encyclopedia. I think my work with this different stuff has improved me. I think Robert is even worse than me, so he can give you more different widgets who do stuff. The problem is you can learn every day a new widget. Or what do I say? Why a problem? But it is what it makes very fun to work with. So if we have that, I think we can have also a padding, because what I don't like is that we have currently on top so much padding and on the bottom nearly nothing. So I think something like that makes it a bit more clean. Some hover animation duration looks more beautiful. That's a very good point. Usually the websites have this little bit, yeah, you're right. It looks very harsh if the color is immediately coming in. So for that, I have something actually, but for now, let's first push that, I think. So we improved our social media icons in general, right? And I think they are looking really good. And do I see a mistake here? Yeah, we have that padding only in mobile at the moment. So we should also implement that for the parent. So if we have here, I think that's this one. So if we go in a larger screen size, yeah, so we should have that here too. Cool. So we improved social media row, or yeah, bar. Good. So and now you have this great idea with the animation hovering, because it looks too aggressive, I would say. I don't know how we can do it with the icons yet, but I know how we can do it with the text, I think. So if we go to the footer text widget, which gets this hover, I think down here what we could do, I think animation text widget. I think we have there an animated text or animated default text style. The Android Studio theme that we are using is One Dark is the name. My absolutely favorite one because it has a very good contrast. So also for presentation work, I really like that. So what I would like to do, I don't know how we can do that with this guy, but I would like to have an animated default text style widget. And this guy wants some stuff inside, like a child, which is then a text. Now I know how I can do it. Okay, fantastic. So I can wrap this guy in an animated default text style. And this guy gets a duration of, for example, 100. No, a duration object of seconds like 100. Like so. This can be a const, of course. So and now this guy has style as a parameter. Style. So and now it's getting a little bit tricky because the style is dependent on the value listenable builder, right? So it depends if we are hovering or not. That means the valuable listener should be surrounding this animated default text style, right? Value listenable builder. Oops. Of type Boolean gets its value listenable of is hovered notifier. This guy is not a child, it's the builder of context bool or is hovered and child, and we'll return this guy. And we remove now the part here inside, and we only have one text left, I think. So that means this animated guy will return this text. And now we have to pass which style it gets. So and also this one here, the animated default text style, receives now a style. So what I will do is I will give it for now just a footer text style that we have in general. And as far as I know, we have here also a builder, right? Is that correct? Let me check. So we have a child, we have the curve, we have the duration, and we have on end callback. No, we have just a child. Exactly. So we don't set the style anymore in the child. We set it now on top of here. So let's make that a little bit smaller. So what do we have for different styling? We have the default one, we have the unhovered one, right? So that would be the easiest for now. So is hovered, we will show the hover text style, which is k hover text style. Else we show the k footer text style. So let's see. If I'm hovering now, nothing happens. 100 seconds is maybe a bit long. It's like over a minute, right? So, but now you can see it's getting smoothly white and smoothly blue, but 2 seconds is still too long. Usually a good rule of thumb is for me always 300 till 500 milliseconds for a smooth duration. And then you can see it feels way more smooth to change the colors here. I don't know if it's very good visible, so let me size the whole thing a little bit up. But now you have this nice little animation here. Why Android Studio and not VS Code? To be honest, it's just personal preference. I worked a long time now with IntelliJ and it has so many smarts and so on. And of course it is more resource hungry, but I feel it is like a developed product. It's, yeah, I don't want to start that one because I know a lot of people don't prefer one very heavily, and they will discuss that very heavily. But I think for my personal preferences, it's just good. Control space after the builder. Control space after the, so here. Yes, I can do that. Yep. So what I usually do is I will convert that to a block body. Why I'm doing that, it's just looking a bit more clean. So the most of the stuff is like getting these nice little parts. If you have that in with that arrow function, sometimes it's getting a messed up Dart FMT. I don't know why, so I keep them usually in a block. But this is how it worked. The only thing is now currently we ignore completely these styles here. So what I would like to do is I would like to have like, this is the hover style. So I think we have a hover style. If this is empty, we show this. And if we have a style, then we show the default one. So it's just to override them, right? And I think that makes our stuff way cleaner. Yeah, that's true. If you have multiple projects, it's VS Code, but even I work currently with another project and I have to use VS Code and I really don't like it. It's just so, I don't know. But for me, most importantly is the Git integration, because the Git integration, I never learned it in terminal, to be honest. I suck at Git in terminal. So then I started to use it in source tree and so on. And after that, I got into the whole Git integration of IntelliJ, which I really like, and I use it a lot. So I think even in the projects where I don't have IntelliJ for a possibility, I just install PyCharm or anything else that is from IntelliJ that is for free and use only the Git integration because I'm just used to it. I'm a weird guy. Yeah, you have a Git integration, but geez, it is bad. Okay, so we have that stuff and we have that part. Yeah, as I said, it's just how habit, you know, if you know your stuff and you know your tools, everything will work. So the only problem that we have currently is this color here, and I am, yeah, that's true. I think they took it away sooner or later. So at the moment you have these parts here where you can see all the differences. I think you can activate this preview here, but they had a new update at some point and they removed that, and I was not very happy with that. Okay. So we have this part, and now for the icons, I think social media bar we have. And in this social media bar, it is a little bit different, right? Because here we have the builder for the icon, and we just change the color. Yeah, I think for the merge conflicts, they still have it, but I think the Git integration itself has changed a little bit. So if you search for GitHub, or Git, they use this weird new, so where is it? Is it on commit? Yeah, here, so they use this new one, use non-modal commit interface, and I removed that because if you commit, you can see down here now the side-by-side difference of the commit. So you can understand, okay, what have I changed in that problem, so I can verify what I did before I committed actually. If I activate that now, this new version, and commit again, then we have that now on this left side, which has not the nice, so as I said, it's habit again. I'm just getting used to the old one. I think if I show div now, it opens up in a modal. So it doesn't have it nicely at one place. I now have to make more clicks. Command D. How can I close that? Ah, okay. Yeah, as I said, it's just habit. I think I can use that now with Command D. Oh yeah. I think you can use it for community projects. As long as it is open source, you can use it for free. Yeah, and you see, I can't work with the terminal. Or at least not with Git in the terminal. I think there I need some practice there. Okay, so we have this icon, and can we have an animated icon? Is there an explicit or icon? Yeah. Animated icon Flutter. I love non-GUI stuff. So actually I work a lot with the terminal. So as you see, we have the animated icon class. Fantastic. I use the terminal a lot. It's just for Git integration. Somehow I don't like it. I destroyed so many times my whole project because of that. So at some point I just gave up. Animated icons. And then I have to pass down the icon. Can I not work with the icon data? Ah, it has different stuff. Okay, so let's try that. So I would just put that in my console. The Git terminal side. Now we have all that stuff, but oh, it's an abstract class. So who does implement the animated icons? Animated icons? No, animated icon, please. Fantastic. So here we have an icon, which we can use this icon, and the color would be then some lag. Too many positionals. Okay, so this is most likely icon, and then we have an color. Cool. So this color. And what is the problem? This is an icon of this. Animated icon data. Animated icon data. Vector graphics data for icons used animated icon. Instances of class are currently opaque because we have not committed to a specified animated vector graphic format. So let's check if there is an example. Nope. Animated icon. So icon progress. Menu arrow. The question is, can I actually update an icon with that? I think these are the material icons, right? And most likely they have already this animated icon stuff inside. Data or icon data to animated icon data. It's covered already, support SVGs and I think you can't supply your own icon. Oh, sad. Okay, so then maybe animated icon is just not what we want, right? Because at the end we only want to change the color, which is just one property. So let's revert this quickly to some state. So this guy. So we could create an own tween and control that here. Then we have a lot of state, which I would like to avoid if possible. Just want to change the color. Animated color widget, maybe. Flutter. But this is for container, that's easy. So they just created a tween for that. Okay, let's try that. So animated, no, what was it? An animation builder. Tween animation builder, yep. So we receive an icon inside and or a builder, which is this guy. And we get a tween, which is a color tween in our case, between the colors that we have, which is once. Oh, I hope we can transform them. gonna be interesting. It's a very interesting topic right now. I don't know how this will work. Then I think we have to cover that on hover. Cool. I hope you like that or you enjoy it the same way I did, or I do, because it's really cool. So here we have, for example, our footer text color. And at the end, we will have the hover color. And here, instead of this color, we will have the value, which is actually always a color, I think. Of a color. This won't work? You don't think so? Ooh. Milliseconds of 300, and we build the whole thing. This can be a const. So Xaxa, what is the reason why it can't work? I'm really curious now. Because the animation builder is only going one direction, right? It doesn't go back. So all of them have now the new color in 300 milliseconds. Yeah, so you're right. We cannot use an animation builder. So really have to control everything. Oh, that's sad. So what I will do is I will convert them to a stateful widget now. And what this means is we actually have to create an animation controller. Don't do that at home, kids. Show once. Yeah, sure, can do that. So the animation builders are always going from one position to another. So if we hot restart this one, and I will do that in macOS because it's faster, you will see at the beginning all the colors will change from one color to another. That's thanks to the animation builder. It's just triggered once, but we cannot re-trigger it, or we cannot revert to that. So for that, we most likely will have to really track the colors here and work on them. So if we go down here, so you can see the colors have changed all immediately. Now I don't know if that was visible, or is it too fast? Seconds, like 3. So they slowly fade in. Let's make it a little bit slower, then I think it's more obvious. So, and while we are watching how the colors change, I drink some coffee. Isn't it beautiful? Wait, I can increase the background music. I think that makes it more beautiful. It's like seeing the sunrise, you know? Okay, so it's cool that the colors are coming. The question is now, do we really want it like that? And I think our idea is more that we hover and then get the colors, right? Even though it doesn't look too bad with the colors, I thought it would look very ugly, but it's not too bad. So in order to do so, we really have to control the animation. And what this means is we need an animation controller who takes care of the animation itself. Exactly, for transitions and creation of widgets, it's fantastic. So if you know the animations package from the Flutter team, it really solves a lot of problems with that. So I highly recommend take a look into it. So animation controller, and we have to recreate that fully. So that means the vsync is this, because this guy will use how we can use mixins again with, I think, single ticker provider state mixin. What a nice name. So if you ever hear this guy, you know this is an animation. So for this, we call this. And do we have something else like the duration, I think? So we have to set the duration to, let's make it again seconds, like 30, or no, not too long, else we cannot see the change. So, and now it complains because an animation controller has always to be created inside of init state at the beginning of the part, right? So we have the init state. Then we create our animation controller. Yes, I did already. So you can see this is a state, and I created already a stateful widget out of it. Because the problem is, if it has an animation, it needs to track all these different timers, and they will be in a stateful widget. And I like this approach at the moment as most, because it's very easy to do. Instead of using now a state management tool or any value, I don't know if value provider would help me here a lot. Maybe, I don't know. I've never done an animation with a state management tool, so that's why I'm using state management here, or a stateful widget in that case. So, and the last thing is nothing. The rest we don't need, because the next part that we need is a tween. Now got a lot clearer. Perfect. So we need, or I will use a color tween, which is a color tween itself, which comes from the beginning, k text, footer texts, and the end will be our hover color. Great. So what is it complaining about? Isn't you? Try removing. Okay. So like Robert said, if a state is changing and you see it, yes, exactly. So animation control, no, I think I can say something like color tween dot animate, and now I can give the parent, which is in my case the animation controller. And this guy returns me an animation. At least I think, yeah, it returns me an animation. Yeah, I think I have to read into the hooks before I start using them, but this is now just how I would create this stuff in general. So yeah, maybe we'll do that in the next part, and we can clean that a little bit up if I have prepared myself a little bit. So animation is this guy. This is my color animation. All right. So, and if this all works well, we can now change this behavior here, because that is now the builder. We don't have a tween animation builder. We cannot use this guy. We don't have a builder. Just return our stuff. Getting rid of this. I think I deleted something too much. So, okay. And now we have to pass down the animation here. So how can I do that? I can use the value that we have up here in the animation. Dot value. Cannot be assigned. Okay, so the animation itself is of course from type color. We created that. We have the duration, the color tween, we animate that. Okay, if this was too fast for you, maybe I can talk once more about it. So we have a controller who just have a value between 0 and 1 and counts that up in a certain duration when we kick it off. The color tween is only the definition of which colors we want to use. So this is once the footer text color and the hover text color. So we transform from one color to another. This is the value that we will contain. Then we have the animation, which is from type color, and we use the color tween itself to animate that with the power of the controller. So what this does, a color is just a calculation of an integer, because the 0xFF that we know, so if you use any color, you have this color 0xFF and then some random value behind. This behind here, so this part that I have here is actually just an integer that can be calculated. So I can multiply that, for example. So it's still an integer that does something. And this calculation happens with the number between 0 and 1. And it starts more or less with this color here. and calculates then up to the last color that it has. And this happens with the calculation of the 0 to 1. And this animation will now be used down here and will be rebuilt, or we will do that in a second to rebuild whenever we have this animation value. So for rebuilding that, we have to add a listener. And this add listener calls set state. So I hope I did that. No, now I did it correctly. So, and I use 2 dots here because I want to still return the animation itself. I just append a listener to it. And this set state calls our set state function, which will rebuild that whole part here, which could be optimized, as I said, maybe with the hooks or even with this value notifier. If we would put the value of us, I think that would be beautiful. Let's check out if I can do that. So let's have a value notifier of type color. That is our color state. I don't know, no better name. Value notifier, and we start with color, or with the K text footer color. What's the problem? I write notifier always wrong. What is wrong with me? Okay, so we have this state. So we have the animation, and instead of calling at the set state in the listener, I will update the value of my animation. So I can take the color state and dot value and give it the color that we have currently in the tween, which would be inside of the color, the animation value. Yeah. This is just a try. I've never done that before, but it could work. So let's see. So we have that. Now I can use that color state down here and use the value, which should be the color that we receive. And because this is getting updated, it notifies this color here. It will update down here. Of course, we would have to still take a lot of stuff outside to retrigger differently, because we still have a stateful widget at the moment. And I'm not sure if we could get rid of that. So let's try that. So if I would take this stuff out and transform that back to a stateless widget, would add here a single ticker provider. Can it? No. Okay, so a stateless widget cannot be a single ticker provider. Okay, cool. That explains a lot. So forget what I said, doesn't work. But we will try that with the color state actually. And what happens now is this animation will update this color state, and this color state value will be used to update our icon value. The duration is set here, so we need currently 2 seconds for the animation. So let's check if that works. No, unfortunately not. But what I will do is I will completely hot restart everything. I hope this makes it clear, because every animation works like that. So you create a controller that has the value between 0 and 1. It takes a tween. You can use a tween, you don't have to. But if you use a tween, you want to always go between one value and another. In our case, we have 2 colors. And this doesn't work. Of course it doesn't work. It makes so much sense, because the problem is we have to trigger this controller. We have to say, please start with the animation. And this happens here on the onHover event for us. Because what we can say is, if we hover, so if is hovered is true, then we want to activate our animation controller that we have and say forward. So that means now we are triggering it into one direction. So from the beginning of our tween to our end of our tween. And the next part is if we have the opposite. So this is our if part. And now we have our else part. And in the else part, we do exactly the opposite. We don't go forward, we reverse the whole thing. So, and now we trigger when we hover the animation and say, now start please. And if we lose the hover, we go into the different direction and return it. So let's see if it worked. We close once more off. This guy is complaining, prefer. Okay. Oh, no. One last thing that is missing. No, what is that actually? Oh, we can make that a constant. Yep, that's fine. It didn't work like I expected it. That's a bit sad. So let's check what is wrong here. Okay. Yeah. So what I will do is I will convert that to a block again, and here we can now print our color state. I just want to see if the color changed actually and our set state is only not called, or if I make a complete mistake somewhere. If I hover them, so we get different colors, so something happens. Or maybe not. Ah, we have to pass the is. Builder is hovered. We don't update anymore the value of the hovering. That is also a problem. So this guy has to also change, right? So hovered dot value is hovered in any case, so we don't have to make that if case. See you and thank you for joining, Stefan. It's nice that you took the time. So you can see something happens. I don't know exactly when it happens yet, but the color is changing. And it's always getting blue at the moment. Why is it always getting blue? Because of the K hover color, which is the default color that we pass down at the moment. So these guys don't get the right color anymore. Okay, could be, but maybe we check that out in a second. First of all, reduce the time of here into milliseconds of 300, just to see if the hover is working at all. And maybe make a hot restart. And then we have also a nice animation for the icons. It's a bit sad that this one is so complicated to reproduce. I thought it would be way easier. Ah, it's getting the color if I'm hovering out now. So more or less for the opposite again. So what I will do is I have to revert this guy. So, and because it's state change, we have to hot restart. Something is broken. I don't know what, but it's fleeky at the moment. We have to check that. Hey Fuad, nice, and welcome to the Flutter Explain community. So I add now here into our add listener print of the animation value. And if I update that and I come down with the mouse here, we should see a lot of colors. And yes, they're getting updated somewhere. Okay. So this works. So the question is now just where comes this colors from and why they... I understand. Okay, so I don't check for the hover color in general. So I just take the color hover here, but we have to take the widget dot hover color into play, of course. So, and if this is null, then we take the default color. Okay, and same thing for here. I think we have on the widget. Do we have a color? No, we don't. Okay. So that should do the trick, at least for the color. But the animation itself is still not triggered correctly. It doesn't look smooth. So the question is, has a color tween? No, a color tween has only these two values. The animation itself, we could have here curved animation with the parent of the animation controller. But this is just if you want to have a curve in general. I think that should be fine. So you see the color is changing actually, but it is very harsh. So we don't see it smoothly changing. And also it doesn't always work like we expect. So I have the bad feeling that it has something to do with this guy. So I will use, instead of this color state, I will directly use the animation dot value. Yeah, we have some error. Okay, so we call here set state. Hot reload. Okay, the animation is working, but the color is now again on the opposite side. So I think we have to revert that again. Which makes sense because is hovered should be forward and then opposite, right? So let's see. Okay, and also, look at that, beautiful. So now we have the possibility to also hover them nicely, and we have this light animation. Whew, that was quite a challenge. So one thing that I said is we could have also like a curve for these animation, but I think linear is good for hovering, but I would also increase the speed here a little bit to 200. Just that it is not too smooth. Yeah, I think that's better. Okay, so does it still work on the small mobile device? I think so. Just to check, yeah, this works fine. All right. So then I would start with adding an animation to the social media bar. Fantastic. I will push the whole thing. Do you have any additional questions to the whole topic that we discovered right now, or anything before or afterwards? Because in the meantime, I can open up my GitHub repository, open on GitHub, this guy. We can try it, but I would move that to the next episode if this is okay for you. But you can add maybe an issue here, and then we can work on that together the next time. I can do that. Wait, I will just update here the pull request already. So that is responsive design. And it is an issue that we fix actually, because we got an issue from a friend. Or I will do that in the issue, I think. Create a pull request. And I think in the footer we have this issue here, so we will add also the pull request to it. This guy. Cool. So, and you said in the animation of the iPad Pro it looks wacky. So what I will do is So we have it in on the web, right? And then on the web we use iPad Pro. I think for that you would have to change the scroll behavior in general. So that's syncing that on Chrome. And then I inspect the whole thing. And here you select the iPad. Oops. Scrolling animation on the page. So in general, the page, or so it's like, why? What do we have to fix here? Or do you mean this animation here? That on an iPad it looks broken? So in the meantime, I will just quickly check all the stuff that we have passed in. Okay, this is that. iPod, yep, that has been updated with the newest version. Thank you, Robert. Enjoy the rest of your day. So then we have the constants added. That was fantastic. We have the footer here. We created a mobile footer that we added. Fantastic. We have a new breakpoint that we will use in the future. We deleted footer.dart. We moved it to another folder. Yep, that makes sense. Could have been solved in a better way, I think, but fine. Then we have the footer columns. Yep, that are the free text widgets that we have. And here we have the text widget itself with the animation. That's fine. Now I got it. So you mean if we go to apple.com and we go to iPad and we scroll here, that we have an animation and that we can recreate. iPad Pro, iPad Mini, iPad, this guy. Is there anything special at the moment? For iPad Pro. Okay. Sorry, I'm not the fastest today, so let's check this out here. We make inspection, we go here on the iPad Pro, this guy. It's something like that, that the image is changing while we scroll. We can try that the next time. Never done that, so it will be a bit more complex animation, maybe a staggered animation even. I think if I would now start up an iPad Pro here on my solution, I think if I open up this guy, can I change the device, rotate, shake, screen, Siri, edit, debug, window? This needs to make Matab, I think. She's better with that stuff, so I have no idea. Hey Aravind! Yeah, so we can take a look in the next live stream for that. But I think for today we have done enough. Okay. So I will keep that, no, I will close this PR, but if you have any additions that we missed something or we have to do something more, please add it still in that closed PR that we have there, any possibilities. So I will give you the link to it in the chat. And I would say let's merge this bad boy if we don't have any issues. So mobile and animations on social, on icon, on footer, or on links and social media icons. Confirm it's squash. And this should break the whole thing. And now we can watch the code magic doing its stuff, right? And then for the next stream, we would have a nice little website. So we run that, and I think I don't have to follow that up. You have, I think most of the stuff is still working. We didn't have made any tests, which is horrible, which we really have to do. Yeah, CodeMagic is free till 500 build minutes a month. So I think there are quite some builds that you can do with 500 build minutes. I think one build is taking around 5 till 10 minutes. So I think you can do exactly 10 or 20 builds. 7 minutes, it was the last one. 5 minutes, sometimes faster, sometimes slower. Oh, look at that. We have dependencies that are outdated. Interesting. So let's check out a branch and maybe get the newest version. And then let's check in the meanwhile, while the build is happening, our dependencies with pub outdated. So what do we have here? A lot of text. So dependencies. Flutter icons, Flutter SVG, Lottie, and they are all resolvable actually. Okay. So if they are resolvable, we could actually upgrade them. So for example, Flutter icons is now 1.1 without a plus, like so. We have Flutter. The problem is if I'm updating them now, that could take a longer time because it could update some, could have some breaking changes. So I will not do that yet. Does that do anything here? What does resolvable mean? You know sometimes that, for example, Flutter test has a new version and suddenly all your packages are broken if you update the Flutter version. If you don't have these breaking changes with other things, then it's called resolvable. So you can just upgrade it without any issues regarding to dependencies, so that any other dependency of yours depend on a specific version. But that does not mean that your package is automatically working everywhere. It could be that you have breaking changes in your application. And this means resolvable. And the other thing is if everything works. So it's quite differently. Yeah. Fantastic dependency. So the tests are running. And maybe the next stream for Flutter website would be to write some tests, even though that I'm still have more UI related stuff, that we could make some widget tests maybe. But especially for that, for this stuff, I think for that mobile stuff would be helpful, especially for the mobile screens and so on. Maybe we can write some testing more. Maybe we also have another live stream where we work on the GitHub repository of Flutter. I think I still have there an open PR that nobody watches on. Can you do a favor and check how to deploy Flutter Web on App Engine? App Engine. Google Cloud App Engine is a platform as a service cloud platform for developing and hosting web applications. Should be quite easy, I think, or? It's also for free, blah, 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 some text, okay. It's very German right now, sorry for that. So let's switch to an English browser. Should be easier. Just add code focus. I think what you can do, which would be the easiest solution that I would recommend you, is calling Flutter build, or wait, I have to use FVM in my case. Flutter build release like that. FVM Flutter build IRL bundle iOS web. Okay, so build web. And what happens now inside of your main directory, it will create all the package data that it needs. And what you can do then is just bring up the files that are inside of this build web folder here inside. And then you can just push them up onto your web server and it should work immediately. At the end, it's just JavaScript and HTML. Close that off. So it took now 30 seconds, but as you can see, we have now up here inside of build the web folder, and all these parts you can just pass into your onto your web server, and then it should work immediately. And you have to make sure that the HTTP docs allows access to the index HTML, which should work immediately. Yeah. Okay. Yep. Should I take a look now into it or next time? Come on. App Engine. Let's have a look what App Engine does. Yeah, finally the footers are fixed. Thank you, Nickel, once more for the issue. So what do we have here? Google Cloud, country. Yeah, stick with Germany. Okay, I have to register and everything. Come on, for my fans, why not? Let's do that. So continue. It's me, yeah, blah blah, some text, start my free trial, go. Meh. Okay, there seems to be a problem with my payment method at the moment on Google, so sorry for that. Will not do that yet. It's very hard to just say it doesn't work on App Engine. I will try to do that maybe tomorrow, and then I can send you a message, maybe if I have a solution. Or we can do it in the next live stream. Okay, so there is no change yet. As you know, we have to throw out our how do you call it? The cache of the website. So we go to the cat website and say inspect. And then we right click on this here. We can empty cache and hard reload. How to use Google AdSense on Flutter Web? Well, the easiest answer would be do it, don't do it. And if you want to do it, you have to do it completely manually. So all the stuff is not working that usually is working. Fantastic. So without the cache, you see automatically the stuff, because at the moment AdSense and I think the other thing is also not working fine yet, SEO. So because AdSense is not knowing about this stuff yet, so it doesn't know the, if you take a look into the HTML here, it looks completely different, right? So that is also one reason why Flutter Web is still in beta and not released yet, because we have everywhere these Flutter glass pane stuff that is creating all our views, right? So you don't have a normal HTML semantic, and that's why Google SEO will not work fine on your website, and also AdSense will not automatically stuff inside. Sure, can do that. All right, so the footer looks better. We have now animations. We have now a mobile part. So if I take that out, make that small. Where is it? Here. So if we make that very small, we have now a mobile extract of it. Looks fantastic, and we have animations. So what else do we need, right? Cool, good job everyone. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of your week. I hope we see us on Tuesday. I make a fantastic video about Flutter Version Manager. Don't miss that out. I don't know, next week will be interesting and challenging because on Wednesday, Marta will not be there. So there will be no live stream of Flutter Together on Wednesday. Most likely we'll move it to the weekends. because MATLAB starts with working now. From my side, what can I tell you? I don't know how the time plan will be for next week. I don't know how it will be for the videos, because I'm thinking about to maybe do it 2 videos, but maybe moving the timeline somehow, and have the streams maybe in the week and on the weekends alone now with you guys. We will find that out. So it will be now a little bit challenging over the next couple of days. I hope you stay loyal and we see us more often, as always. Thanks for joining me today, and enjoy the rest of your day and the week. Take care.